Three.
Good morning, everyone. Rhonda, Bex, and myself, the Ladies of Spirit Sessions, are so excited to spend our morning here with you today. Blessings to each and every one of you. Be sure to share this episode out, and you can go on YouTube and subscribe and hit the like button and everything, all that stuff. We've got an amazing guest that we are going to share with you today. Have you ever wondered if using salt and all those other things that we learned about really work? Today we're going to find out. So, Rhonda, would you like to take it over?
Sure. I first heard about June on Jim Harold's Paranormal podcast, where I often find wonderful, interesting people. And you were there, and I just loved your story. And here on Spirit Sessions, we deal with the light, and we deal with a lot of what I always like to call the unicorns and rainbows division. But sometimes we delve deeper and get sort of things like Tyler and Aaron last week, and other things. But I thought, with this COVID, that it would be good to have someone like June Lundgren on. She is a demon seer, but she was talking about protecting and spiritual protection. And I thought that's important for light workers to know, that it's not all rainbows and butterflies, and that we need to make sure we are protected. Um, June is a prolific author. She has many books out there, and we have all her links in her social media, which she does a really good job of, below. And she's a nurse, and she's seen a lot of things. She has been in the army. She's done many things. But I think one of her biggest things is that she is a demon seer, and she helps rid the world and people of demons. And this is quite a vocation to have. So tell us how you actually even started this path, or how it was given to you, more or less.
I
And
have always been
welcome.
able to see demons since I was a child. When I was young, I saw them as, like most people do, black smoke, black mass. But when I reached around 5.5 years old was when it changed and I could see them in their true form. At first, I was afraid. I talked to Michael and he said, the Archangel, and he said, you see them as we do. He says, that is a gift. He said, you don't have to be afraid. He said, they won't hurt you. I'll protect you. He said, it's important that you start watching them. I want you to watch them. I want you to learn from them, see how they work. So, all through my youth, up until I was a teenager, I had studied them. They speak in Aramaic. Aramaic. My brain is hardwired to interpret it. So a lot of people say, well, I can't understand what they're saying, or it's high pitched. And I tell them what they're saying. But I encountered a few of them when I was in the military, and at that time didn't know how to remove them or anything else. I didn't realize that I had the soul of Ariel the Archangel. It was in 1988 when I died in a motorcycle accident that I went to the other side, and Michael was there along with my grandparents. And Michael says, you need to understand who and what you are. So he put his hand over my head, and I relived all my lives clear back to the soul. And when I finished, I had a different appearance. I no longer looked like me. I looked like Michael did, only female version. He's about 7 feet tall, 12-foot wingspan. And I had, dark auburn hair and blue green eyes. And Michael says, this is who you are. He said, you are Ariel the Archangel. You are a demon slayer. This is what you love doing. You were sent back to learn to have compassion for mankind because you had no compassion. You ripped the demon out of a woman and didn't care that the woman died, the physical body died. So, and then he says, you're going to start doing what you've always been meant to do, which is removing or killing demons. And then I went back, and there was a police officer standing over me. He was like, so glad I was back. He said, you were clinically dead for 2 minutes. Felt like forever on the other side. But I didn't even know who Ariel was. I had to look it up. I'm like, who the heck is that? So I look it up, and there's not much about her. A lot of people will think that she's a male. She says she's not a male. The female energy is stronger. She likes it. And she says, well, all I found out about her was that she was one of the 5 that guard the throne of God. And her name means Lion of God. And so it took me a couple of years to be able to come to terms with that. But I figured that's why I could always see them. That's why I could always hear them and understand them. So I started doing removals right after that. And it's been going strong ever since. People come to me. But Michael had to do what he calls a merge, where he merged the soul consciousness with the physical world consciousness so that I can hear her thoughts. She can hear my thoughts. And people say when I do a removal that my eyes turn white. My face looks like 30 years younger, and my voice changes. And some people even see wings coming out of my shoulders. I don't have a mirror. Even if I did,
I know.
I don't think I want to see.
I still want to be with you, and I so not want to be with you. I don't know about you guys, but I still want to see this and not. But yeah, because I'm one of those ones that like to have my eyes blinders on. So to the rainbows
It's
and
good
butterflies.
if you can watch it on TV, but not in real life. A lot of people don't want to see it in real life, and they don't want to know how it happens that I can remove these. They just want them removed. It's like, get them off, get them away from me. I see them, like I said, in their real form, their true form. I had a friend one time that said, I really want to see what you see. And I told him, I said, no, you don't, because you're going to have, bad dreams. And so he talked me into it. I had a case I went out on, and I knew there was more than one demon. And we get to the location. I told him, I said, you have to put your protection in place because I can't protect you while I'm doing this. So he said he did. And I was in the middle of the first removal when I heard him say behind me, get it off me, get it off me. And I told Michael, I said, get it off him, will you? I got things to do here. And then we went outside, and there were a couple that were outside. There was a hole the man had dug, and a dark portal had come up through the hole. And so I said, okay, you want to see what I see? Hold on my hand. So he held my hand, and then he could see the 2 demons that were there. He says, what are they saying? He says, I can't understand them. He says, I don't understand the language. And I told him, I said, it's never anything complimentary, so I'm not going to translate. It's not good. And he said, oh my God, one of them's running at you. And he broke the connection, and I held out my hand and stopped it. And I got rid of both of them. And he says, you're right. I don't want to see that again.
Wow.
Yeah. And then the only other person brave enough or stupid enough, depending upon how you take it, was Zach Baggins from Ghost Adventures. It's like he regretted that. I have a minister friend who likes to go with me on these things, and I told him, I said, you need to come with me on this removal. I got a removal I did a show called Ground Zero with Clyde Lewis, and he did a 4-hour special on me. And one woman called in and contacted me afterwards and said, I have these demons, and I have possession. I'm being possessed. And so I made arrangements to go and see her. And I took my para partner and my friend that's the minister with me. I said, you need to come with me because God says you fear the negatives. And in order to do your work, you can't fear the negatives. You have to get rid of the fear.
Right.
So we all went up the stairs to the apartment, knocked on the door, and the woman answered, but her eyes were black. She slammed the door. And I knocked again, and she opened it, and her eyes were normal again. And so I was like, okay. It took Ariel 3 hours to do the actual removal. There were 11 entities in her, and the last one wouldn't go, and it was hiding from Lucifer. I had to dig deep to find out that it had been told to do a job. It did not do the job, it just left and never came back. Well, it's been hiding out in this woman for the last 20 years. So I said, listen, I said, if you want to go home, I said, Jesus will take you home. You don't have to live in darkness. And Jesus's arm my two friends are standing on each side, and they moved aside as they saw his arm come out, and he held out his hand towards the entity. The entity thought about it for a minute, and then he's like, no, you're lying, you're trying to trick me, and it wouldn't go. And I'm like, okay, you lost your chance. He said, that's it, it's not going to happen. And I said, so be it. Ariel said, so be it. And she summoned Lucifer. She says, Lucifer, come forth. And my two friends are like freaking out because they see this entity form at the end of the hall and walk forward. And it's like he was like in an old double-breasted, fedora 40 suit, and hat. And he walked down the hallway. And Lucifer told the demon to come out. He said, I could rip the demon out, but it would kill the woman. He said, I know you don't want that. And the demon wouldn't come out. So he says, that's okay, I'll be back for him tonight. So he walked back down the hall and disappeared. And 3 a.m. that morning, the next morning, each one of us woke in our beds at the same time. We heard Lucifer say it. It's done. Wow. So I went and talked to the woman the next day, and I told her to get counseling. You need counseling? Please get counseling. So she did. She did get some counseling. But my friend who's a minister, he says, I've always known that God existed. I've always known that Lucifer existed. But to actually see them, he said it hurt me to look at Lucifer. He said it hurt my eyes. It was bad. He said, but, I did. And he says, now I understand what God was talking about. I'm like, yep, that's all about, you can't be afraid of him.
Because fear gives them power, is that right? Is that how you...
It does. It's a weakness. And what they do is, when they think about attaching themselves to an individual, I liken them to stalkers, because they'll wait and they'll watch. They'll watch for your weaknesses. They'll watch for your strengths. They'll watch and see who they have to get rid of in your life. They look for everything. Who's important in your life, who isn't. And then they go from there. They'll isolate you. They'll get rid of your support system, your family, your friends. They'll make your finances go in the toilet. They'll make your health go downhill. It's a regular party for them, but not for anybody else.
Wow. So that's why they like this COVID time, because everybody's...
Yeah.
There's like an overarching feeling of foreboding or, anxiety, because we don't know what's going to go on, and, worry about
a lot of anxiety, depression, fear. Yeah, those are all, that's why they're having a heyday. That's why I'm getting I'm losing my thing here. That's why I'm getting so many requests for removals. It's just, I did one last night. I got a request yesterday and did one last night. They're just coming out of the woodwork. I did 12 in a week.
Wow.
Before last, so it's bad.
Now, do you think that the demons have always been there, but this atmosphere is giving them more power, so people are recognizing them more?
I think it's a case of, because there's so much There's so much negativity right now. It's like attracting them from the other side. And they use the dark portals to come through. And once they come through, then they have so much. It's like a kid in a candy store, got so much to choose from, type of situation. They're always on the other side waiting and watching. It's just a matter of, when they'll come over. The thing is, it's the young ones that come over, what I call the lesser demons. They're they're like hormonal teenagers. They don't listen to anybody. They do what they want. They wreak havoc. Whereas the old ones rarely come into the physical world. We're not worth their time and effort. But when they do come, like the one that came for Zach, yeah, you'll be sorry they came.
Wow. Wow. So for us light workers, do you think that I often thought of them as like moths, and they see light and then they say, oh, they're attracted to the light, or are they repelled by the light?
No, they're more attracted by weaknesses, fears. Some of the things that attract them are substance abuse, family dynamics. If there's a lot of abuse in the family, if you're in an abusive situation, relationship, you have mental illness. All these things are like red flags for them to attract them. They will sit and they'll wait and they'll watch. And if you're worth their time, then they'll, attach themselves. If you're not worth their time, they move on to somebody else. There's always another person for them to attach themselves to. And that's why I've been trying to, spread the light as well, because we need more light workers. God says we need a physical world. We need a physical world army. So I've mentored quite a few people, and then they will spread. They go. I tell them, when I do a removal or when I help you, you need to. My payment is for you to spread the word, to help someone else who needs help. That's the pay I want from it.
That's awesome. I know when we had the meet and greet with you, and we all laughed because we all had the same thought go through our head. You say you can see them in people, and we all kind of leaned in and said, "Are we okay? Are we okay?" So when you're going down the street, you can just see them. Is that kind of how it works?
Yeah. But it's kind of like if you're in New York City and it's rush hour, everybody's leaving work to come home, and the sidewalks are crowded, and I don't know why I'm not sticking. The sidewalks are crowded, and you're the only one going in the opposite direction. And they notice that. You have all these people going, east, say, and you have one person going west. And these are the people that have attachments, so to speak. This is like they see you like you're the one going, the opposite direction, going against the flow. And that's kind of how they pick you. Sometimes it's just you're in the wrong place at the right time. Or you'll go on an investigation. I've had a group up in Canada that I did a removal for. They went to a location, and it had been known to have, negative entities there. And one of the people ended up with an attachment. So they contacted me, and I did a removal from the distance. And he was okay after that, but he needs to not provoke. What happened was he was in the location, he provoked, and that's all it takes. You piss them off, you're going to be sorry. Because they're like elephants, they don't forget.
So there are negative entities. There are people that haven't passed or haven't gone through and are kind of stuck here. Would you say that's some people?
Negative entities, in the way I mean demonic, they have never had physical form. They can't take physical form. The only way they can is to possess a body. But there are negative entities that were humans, that were like nasty in life and nasty in death. There's some of those hanging around too. Those are just annoying. Those are easy to get rid of.
And those are people that maybe once they pass, they're kind of afraid to go on.
No, negative entities. In the way I mean demonic, they have never had physical form. They can't take physical form. The only way they can is to possess a body. But there are negative entities that were humans, that were like nasty in life and nasty in death.
And those are people that maybe once they pass, they're kind of afraid to go on. Is that
Yeah,
why?
they know what they've done, and they know they're going to be judged, and so they're afraid. So they choose to stick around.
And then are there other people that come and go and are harmless, totally harmless?
Oh yeah,
Like
there's
your
lots.
grandmother pops in to say hi and check on you or whatever.
Yeah,
You
she
can feel the
does.
difference, I'm sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can tell the difference.
Yeah.
It's definitely, when you encounter a ghost, you get cold spots. You can get things moving, things like that. EVPs. But when you encounter a demon, it's totally different. The air is heavy. The air is thick. You have this cold inside of you that has nothing to do with the temperature outside. And you may, there may be an infestation of rats or bugs, smell of rotting meat, that sort of thing. It's it's quite interesting.
That's weird. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a whole different ball game. So how would the normal person protect themselves?
Yeah,
Or
let's talk about
say we're
that.
clear right now. How do we stay this way and keep our space nice and clear from that? How what are some of the simple things we can do as people? Just
Some of the simple things you can do is always say a prayer before. It's like people that, if you scry, if you read tarot cards, if you do a reading for someone, intuitive reading for someone, you have to say a prayer and ask for God's or whatever deity you believe in, his protection and guidance, and ask that you be given the information for the greater good of the individual. And then once that's over, once you get through with the reading or whatever you're doing, whether it be a paranormal investigation or not, you thank him for it and ask him to close the portal. Because anytime you do any of these things, it opens a portal, a door to the other side. If you don't close it, you get all kinds of things coming through. Because it's kind of a neutral portal. There's dark portals and there's light portals. And then there's ones that humans create by doing investigations or what have you, or by doing readings and stuff. If they're not closed, you get things coming through. That happened downtown Portland, the Shanghai tunnels. I've had to remove demons from there for like 3 different times. The first time was because they had people coming into the other side of the underground and doing seances and the witch boards and not closing the portals. So they were attacking people that were going on the tour of the Shanghai tunnels. They were clawing them. They were pulling their hair. They were growling. The usual.
the usual.
Nope,
Sorry.
nope.
I'm just yeah.
Been doing
So-
this so long, it's like, oh yeah, the usual.
Yeah.
The usual. Yeah, just freak people right out. So saying a prayer, like
Prayer
often say,
is a big thing. People underestimate the power of prayer.
Yeah.
Because if you do, and you have to invoke the name of Jesus Christ, God, and they don't like that. So prayers is something they don't like. It's like nails on a chalkboard for them. They don't like it at all. The other way you can protect yourself is to create a white light force field. That's what I call it anyway. Michael gave me a technique to use. He says, this will work for people. I want you to make sure people know about this to protect themselves. And I'm like, okay. So I give it to whoever wants it, whoever has issues. And then also I make a black salt, and I'd never even heard of black salt. God came to me just after I started doing removals. And he said, listen, you're going to need protection for the people. He says, I want you to create a black salt. And I said, what's a black salt? And he's like, okay, you put in this, 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 and this, and I will bless it at each step of the making of it, the manufacturing process. So I'm like, okay. So I did exactly as he said, and I've been using it for like 40 years. It really helps people. You use it to seal a home. Once you remove the demon, you can use it to seal a home, or a person can carry it on them in their car, and it will protect them against negative entities, true negative entities like demons. I mean, if you got an earthbound, that's different. it's protection against the things that have never, demonic things that have never had human form. So it's specifically geared to them. And I make black salt um, necklaces. I have a sister group in the UK, and I provided them with black salt necklaces. And some of the places they've been, they said, when they're in the presence of negative, it heats up. You can feel it getting hot around their neck. And I said, that's what it's supposed to do. It's protecting. So I did do a lot. I sent a lot of black salt out.
Yeah, I bet you that customs has a fun time with your black salt. When you start coming through. What is in the package?
People are like, well, I can get this Himalayan black salt. I said, it's not the same. It's not the same.
No.
It doesn't have the power behind it.
Right.
But those are the only things besides invoking, one of the archangels that can help you, really, to help for protection. People think, crystals help. They don't. They amplify the power. They don't get rid of it. See, people have like the Eye of Horus. No, that won't help you. Holy water helps. Anointing oil helps. Some people.
The evil eye doesn't help, apparently.
Oh, I wish it did. That'd be cool. I've had calls from Hawaii to remove them too. It's like, okay.
I have a question from one of our audience. They're saying, how do you know if you have demon attachments? So
you'll know because suddenly your finances start going in the toilet. You start having health problems. You start being depressed, or you can wake up in the morning and look at your husband or your wife and just be so mad, and they didn't do anything. It's like they make you feel negative emotions that were never there to begin with. If they're not there, if they're there, they amplify them. If they're not there, they create them. They create the jealousy in your mind. They create the anger. All of these things. Your whole attitude changes. You're not yourself. If you didn't know better, you think the person was going, nuts. But these are all things, and people start staying away from you. Your friends leave. Your family doesn't want to. Oops, sorry. I don't know why this thing is doing that. They don't want to be around you. None of that. It's all because of these things.
So Melinda was asking, what about calling in golden light? The golden light of the divine in.
That's the white light, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the white light, calling it in. Now, can you remove a demon from yourself if you have that knowledge of calling in the divine light and asking it, or do you need someone like you to do it?
You can help, you can weaken them by doing that. But you have to call on either one of the archangels or a clergy or someone, that does what I do and do the removal. Mm-hmm. But, it's calling in if you have the white light in the first place around you, you're not going to have issues with that, because it acts like a force field, and they can't get through it. And they don't like that they can't get through it. And if you have that, they'll go away. They won't bother attaching to you. They'll just move on. So
calling in Archangel Michael to come in and clear your field, like we often do.
We do.
Yeah.
Most every day.
Cutting cords, clearing. Yeah.
Cutting cords and taking a sacred vacuum cleaner and sucking out all the negative entities.
Michael always laughs because he says, he says, if I got paid for every time I was called in, he says, I'd be rich. And he's like, that's why on the other side, see, you can be in 1,000 places at the same time, because there's no distance.
Right.
When I died, and I found that out, you can feel, all the connection that you have with God and with other people, other souls that are there. They're like, you can hear them in the background, just a kind of a murmur, but God's voice is always strong. So, and one thing I learned on the other side is that thought becomes reality in their world. if you think about killing them or kicking them out or whatever, and if you use enough thought and intent behind it, then you can get rid of it. You won't be able to remove it from the physical world, but you'll be able to kick it out of your house or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really important. You can't have any doubts about it happening. You have to know that if I do this, it's going to happen. That's it, plain straight up.
Right.
And it's like, I tell people ask me, "Are you ever afraid?" And I thought, "No. Why would I be afraid?"
Mm-hmm.
I said, "They, if you're afraid, it's a weakness. They're going to find it, and you're not going to be able to do anything at all. You end up with attachments." I had a man that contacted me where he says, "Oh, I was doing what you do. I remove demons." And I'm like, "No, you don't." I said, "You have two of them attached to you. That's why you're calling me, aren't you?" And he's like, "Yeah, that's why I'm calling you."
Wow.
And I'm like, "Okay, so what do you want me to do for you?" He says, "I want you to take it away." And I said, "Okay, I'll take it away." I said, "But you have to understand that if I take it away, you can't go back out there and start doing these things again because you're going to end up with another one attached to you."
Mm-hmm.
And what did he do? He went back out, did it again, ended up with something attached to him. Whatever.
Wow.
It's like, you know what? I can't
Tough
keep doing this for the rest of my life. You gotta take some responsibility and not do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it wouldn't be my job. No, thanks. No. I
It's
mean,
not. It's not something that you choose to do. It's
Mhm.
something that you have the calling to do.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
There's no other way around it because nobody in their right mind want to deal with these things.
Mm.
Most demonologists most human demonologists end up with health issues. They die, relatively young. Uh, it's very rare that you find one that doesn't, and that's because they take a toll on you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm protected because of the angelic energy within me, but not everybody has that. So that's why it takes me a minute or two to remove a demon, where it takes a Catholic priest months, days, hours to remove them. And I asked Michael about that one time, and he says the reason it takes so long is because they have doubt, either doubt about themselves, doubt about what they're doing, doubts about being able to remove it.
Mm-hmm.
He says all these things factor into it. That's why it takes them so long to do it. He says, with you, there is no doubt. There is no fear. He said, because when Ariel takes over, he says, that's, you know, that's it. They fear Ariel. They
Mm-hmm.
fear Michael because he was during the war between heaven and hell. Michael disarmed Lucifer
Mm-hmm.
and Ariel disarmed his son. And so they have no love for them.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
So saying prayers, and so if people can go and get the black salt from you.
Yeah, they can go to my website and purchase it. Or if they have, if they have a negative entity and I do the removal, I send them, I just send it to them so that they can seal their home.
That's pretty interesting.
Sounds so awesome.
Come on,
Those are the
Teresa, you are.
only things that will protect you. I wrote a book called The Dark Side of the Paranormal because people have been, asking me for years and years about, protection, about, is a demon all powerful? Does it have weaknesses? Does it have fears?
Right.
And because most people think they don't, but they do. They have fears. They have weaknesses. They didn't like me writing the book. I had a heck of a time finishing it, getting it out because of that. They don't want people to know. They don't want people to know that they fear death because when a demon dies, there is no rebirth. Its consciousness ceases to exist.
Oh,
And so it's one of their fears. And their weaknesses is the fact that they have that fear.
Mm-hmm.
And if people know about that fear, then they can bounce it back at them. And they don't like that.
Right.
They don't like you to know their secrets, their weaknesses.
So they don't go on like us
No.
because
We
no.
die, we're reborn again. We can do
Mhm.
whatever we want. We come back again. They die, that's it. There is nothing else.
So they're finite being.
Yes, they're
So
pure energy. They used to be white light. And then the war between heaven and hell, it's not really that. It's, there arose, we used to have physical bodies before we evolved into pure energy. And then everyone evolved into pure energy, and we traveled the galaxies, everywhere,
Mhm.
watching cultures, people, watching all kinds of things. And then one day, a few thousand years into the journey, there arose souls wanting to become human. They wanted to know physical love again. They wanted to have children. And, they didn't care that they would be subject to pain or growing old or anything. They felt that that was a part of the journey. And the other half said, no way. We had this like 1/4 of the group that said, no, 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 no. We don't want to be human. We don't want to have a physical form. We don't want to be subject to pain, disease. We don't want anything to do with that. And that's what started the whole thing, because Lucifer and his followers went up against, God and the archangels, which comprise the legion of light, God calls them.
Mhm.
And they lost. And when they lost, God said to them, you know what? I'm going to give you exactly what you want. You'll never be able to take physical form, but you'll live in the dark. So he kind of like opened up a rift to another dimension, a dark dimension, and they all went in there. At first, they didn't care. They were fine with that. But over the centuries, they get a little upset about it. They get angry. Uh, they feel they want to seek revenge, and that's why they've been able to, over time, create these dark portals. These rifts into our world.
Wow. Be careful what you ask
so
for,
that's
right?
all in your book, The Demon Seer? Is that
Yeah,
all that history?
yeah.
Okay. And
Now,
that's available through
it's not.
Amazon and everything.
Yeah, it's not available yet. It's
Oh,
it's through. It's going through its editing phase right now.
oh,
It,
okay. Oh,
it should be out by. It took me a year and a half to write it.
Mm.
Should be out before the end of the summer.
oh, cool.
Awesome.
Nice. So,
There's going to be 4 volumes.
Kira
Wow.
who's saying, what can we use if black salt is not available? He's from South Africa. So,
Uh,
he's a little
um, holy water.
Mhm.
holy water.
Yeah, what you can do is you can take salt, Himalayan salt, unrefined, and you can soak it in holy water and let it dry naturally in the light, in the sunlight. And that will put like the extra kick to the salt. That will help to protect.
Okay. So, there's no do it yourself making the black salt.
Well,
Really.
you could make the black salt, but it wouldn't have the energy, because
Right.
Ariel puts her angelic energy into it as well.
Right.
And
Yes.
I've got to do something about this. And being they fear her, they don't want anything to do with anything that has her energy attached to it.
Mhm.
So
They
that's
just
enough.
they just don't like it.
So we can purchase it over your website and grab some for ourselves.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Can
Okay.
you put the white light around your house too and seal it that way?
You can, yeah, you can.
Okay.
The black salt just like adds icing on the
Right.
cake.
Right.
I
Like
have
an
a
extra
farm, a
level.
3-acre farm, so
Yeah,
I
that's a
black
lot.
salted it long ago. And I will
That's a
have none of
long
that.
Yeah.
My husband actually, he's one of these people that if you can't touch it, feel it, or see it, it doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
And then we were down at the coast visiting my cousin for Thanksgiving. And I was upstairs in the timeshare, and he was downstairs. And my son was downstairs, and they're like, I hear my husband yell at me. I felt something come in, and then I hear him yell at me, get down here. So I go downstairs, and here's a shadow person. My husband's pointing to it and says, "What is that?" I said, and then it, like, when he said that, it just zipped and left. I said, "That, my dear husband, is a shadow person. Welcome to my world."
Mhm.
But I don't ever want to see that again. I don't ever want to. I'm like, you won't, maybe.
So people can tell us how people can get a hold of you and what services you offer. I know you offer your demon removal services
I
free
do
too.
demonic removal, and that's free because it's God's work. I do intuitive readings. Right now, I'm booked up through most of June, and I I can do cleansing from a distance. I can do blessings from a distance. All I need is a picture. Once I get a picture of the person or the home or whatever, then I know it's there. I make the connection. I know it's there. I know what I need to do a removal. I had one last night that contacted me, and she was in a bad way. Kind of reminded me of when I went to the UK in 17. I was over there with my son, and we were visiting. We were going to go visit Tower London that day. I got a text from a friend of mine, and she says, "Call me." I said, "I can. I'm in the UK." And she's like, "Oh, okay." I said, "Well, maybe you can help this woman." And I'm like, okay. I said, they said, "Oh, you can contact her on Facebook." I said, "Well, send me her name and I'll send her a message." And so they did that. She did that, and I didn't think I would get a message back like anytime soon, So I went off to the Tower of London. That was quite cool, except for the 200 and some steps. That was that.
Ooh,
Going up to the tower, it's like, ugh. But I got back and I got a message, and the woman says, "Usually I don't answer these messages, but I felt compelled to answer yours." And I'm like, okay. I said, "Send me a picture of the location." And so she sent me a picture of the location. And come to find out, this was a place called the Cage. It was a medieval women's prison, and was considered one of the most haunted locations in all of England because there had been pictures taken of demons and the possessions that have happened there. And I'm like, okay. I didn't find that out till afterwards, but I'm like, listen, okay, I got the picture. I'll do the removal while I'm on the treadmill. I said, I'll let you know about it. So I go downstairs and do my treadmill for 45 minutes. And come back up. I told her it's done. And she says, "I have this man coming from the United States. He's a famous psychic over there. His name is Chris Fleming." And I'm like, okay. She says he doesn't do negatives, so he's doesn't want anything negative there. And I'm like, "Tell him he can go." I said, "There's nothing negative left there. That's fine." And he went in the next day, and he's like, she told him what I did, and he says, "She's right. There's nothing left here." I'm like, "Yeah, I do good work. Come on." So
do the
it's like,
job thoroughly, right?
yeah, it's like, really? Come on. People, like, sometimes you get local people that, I help and stuff like that, and paranormal groups that I help out because I feel it's, important to help them.
Yeah.
And I had one group that it was like a 4-person group, and they're just, I don't know, they have a different feel to them, and they were saying, that I was arrogant, and I told them, I said, "Listen, if I don't do what I say I can do, then you can call me arrogant." I said, "But if I can do what I say I can do, then you just say that you're good." It might be bad. It's like, it'd be different if I was a fake. Then, okay, you can say that, but I'm not a fake.
Well, your
Well,
job depends on you not having doubt in your abilities.
Yeah,
so
you can't.
it's important for you to be able to believe in it so strongly like that.
Yeah, you can't. It's like, because they can't, the negatives cannot tell what's inside of me
Mhm.
because she stays hidden.
Right.
But so when I come up on them, they just think it's another stupid human that they have to deal with.
Surprise.
And when she comes forward, everything else changes. And then it's
Yeah.
on. Yeah, it's on. They don't like it. Oh well.
Wow.
So cool. Thank you
It
so
is.
much. I can imagine how useful that would have been being a nurse. Your
Yeah,
confidence too.
hospitals are will draw them in,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
absolutely.
Oh, for sure.
But
And
you
the
deal with
more I
them
get,
as that's why I don't work hospital anymore. I work clinic. Plus, I got tired of working holidays and weekends
Yeah, understandable about that.
after
sure.
46 years. Yeah.
I don't know. Listening to you talk about that stuff still makes me think about Sam and Dean and Supernatural, even though it's not real. That's
Oh yeah.
that's
I
my
used to
reference
watch
point.
that stuff when it began. I watched that show because it was interesting then. It was like
Yeah.
novel and new, but they got like way out in left field somewhere. So I
So you
stopped
don't use
watching.
sigils and you don't have some special gun that
No, that'd be cool. But
It would
no,
be cool. It would be cool. Yeah.
it would be
All
cool.
those
But
all those fancy tricks, But thank you for doing what you do, because I wouldn't want to do it. No way.
not for everyone.
No.
That's why I try to help as many as I can because it's there's a lot of need out there. So
Mm-hmm.
and
Absolutely.
there are other people all over the world like you. I take it. Not
there
not
are
exactly
there
like
there are 8 archangels in the world today that are reborn.
Wow.
2 of them are in England. I know where some of them are. 2 are in England. Another one is in New Mexico. And I know the one in France and I know the one in Italy. So I still have a couple to find.
That's
Wow.
cool.
That's cool.
Very cool.
My job is to, when I encounter them or they find me or I find them, to help them understand what they are and what they can do. And it works out well that way. Because not everyone who makes the transition, the archangels that make the transition, are okay. Some of them can't handle it. The human part of them can't handle it. And they go a little nuts or they commit suicide.
Oh.
So it's
Definitely got to be an interesting vibration to hold.
yeah. People that are that are linked, and have their soul connection or linked to God, they know what's inside of me. They're aware of what's inside of me. I went to a meetup session to see, how they were like helping you increase your psychic abilities. And there was a young girl there, and she's like, you partner up with somebody and, you do it. And this girl's like, I see these big wings. She's like, I don't know why I'm seeing big wings. I'm like, don't worry about it. You're right. It just depends. Some can see her, some can't.
Right.
Some sense that there's some angelic energy, but they don't know what, how it's there or why it's there. They usually feel that it's probably, a guardian angel or something like that. Ariel does have guardian angels. My sister, who died at 2 months of age, is one of them. Is one of mine.
Wow.
And my great great grandmother's the other one, outside of Michael, of course.
Wow.
That's lovely.
It's a very fascinating life. Yeah.
It's never dull. I
No.
told my husband, it's like being married to me is it's never going to be dull. I didn't even tell him what I do for a couple of years after we were married.
Wow. Yeah.
Then I
That must have
finally
been a
broke
surprise.
He's like, because he's so left brain, he's like, yeah, okay, whatever you say.
Right.
Until he started seeing things, and he's like, oh, I don't want to see those things.
Yeah. Wow.
So, Jax, you have another question for June.
I do. I have the rock and roll question. That's what Teresa calls it. So if you had to choose a song to be the theme song of your life, what would it be?
Let's Go Crazy.
Let's
by
Go
Prince.
Crazy.
Let's Go Crazy by who?
Yeah, by Prince.
Prince.
Yeah.
Oh, by Prince. Oh, yeah. Oh, cool.
That sounds very fitting. Your life is Definitely.
says in the song it says if the elevator brings you down, just push a button, go
Yeah,
to a higher floor.
I love
There you
it.
go.
That's perfect. Yeah, I think, it's so important to see all the aspects of roles that we play here in this lifetime, in this existence. You can't make this stuff up. Everybody's here for a reason,
Yeah,
and your
that's
reason
why.
is, whew.
That's why when I started a paranormal group. I was a member of a paranormal group, but I broke away from it to branch out. I'm still a
Mhm.
member of that group, but I formed my own called Ghosts and Girls Paranormal.
Mhm.
And the logo is funny because it's two girls, one peeking around the corner holding out a recorder for EVP, and the other one behind her, and then behind them is a ghost looking afraid.
Oh,
I,
I
I
love
tell
that.
people, what I do is dark. Let's have a little fun.
Yeah, you definitely need a sense of humor. Absolutely.
Got to.
Oh,
Kira's saying amazing and very interesting insight. Universal hug with gratitude with a love and light from South Africa. So
mhm.
thanks, Kira.
Yes.
Thanks, sir. That was very eye-opening. And knowing is powerful. Thank you. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what
Yeah,
absolutely.
knowledge. My grandmother always taught me knowledge is power.
It is.
knowledge is power. And
Yep.
just because you can't see it doesn't mean it's not there.
Right.
Yeah, a lot of times you can't see it, but you can feel it.
Mhm.
The air feels heavy. It doesn't feel good, or you have this little gut instinct saying, "Don't do it," or "Don't go there,"
Yeah.
and you change your mind and don't go there.
Right.
And that's usually because when you have those little gut instinct feelings, that's your soul connection telling you,
Mhm.
don't go in there, or don't turn left, turn right.
Mhm.
And it does it for your betterment, not for. But we're humans, so we have a tendency to ignore that gut instinct
Right.
and do it anyway, and then we pay the price.
Yep. Very
So
true.
cool. So cool. Thank you again so much.
Yes.
Bex, so get a hold of June. All her links are there. If you have any questions, put them in the chat. We'll direct June to take a look and see if you need to if she wants to answer, she can.
Yep.
We're on the YouTube for the replay. And also, like I said, all her social media her links are in this video, so you can connect up with her there. Grab your black salt or some of her books. They all look so interesting and great.
Yeah.
Yeah, very cool.
Absolutely.
Very cool. And we'll have to have you on again, maybe when your book's released. So
Yeah. Yeah.
we can
I've
get
a
a,
lot of offers when my book's released. They want me to back.
Right.
yeah, I know.
Like,
We'll get you near Christmas time when you want another boost. Bring some
I got
light.
contacted by somebody from the UK the other day, and they're like, "Really want you on our show, but we're not. We don't. We have one that's going to air November 23rd." I'm like,
Wow.
"Okay, I'll put it on my Google Calendar. Just send me a reminder."
Mhm.
Because there's an 8-hour time difference between
Yeah.
the two. I have friends over there I talk to all the time, and I'm
Mhm.
leaving in June for a couple of weeks to go to the UK. So,
Very
We hope.
nice.
We hope.
Mhm.
oh, it'll
Yeah.
work. We'll see.
It'll work.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what I keep saying.
Going to a wedding.
Oh, good. Yes. Awesome.
Beautiful.
Okay,
Good
Bex,
stuff.
any more
Yeah.
announcements? You have a few before we leave.
I do. I just want to say for a takeaway for today's show, because there was a lot of heavy stuff to talk about, but it's important that we have that knowledge and understanding so that we know, what signs and symptoms. We understand signs and symptoms of diseases all the time, but we don't think we have them. So hearing the symptoms doesn't mean you're going to attract them. And that's important to remember. Using white light to protect yourself. It's so important for us to use the resources we have available to us. So for everyone watching today, take time to surround yourself with that white light. Pray, use prayer to your benefit to be able to keep yourself safe. And don't go into fear. Every time you start to feel that fear come up, dissolve it. You have the ability. You are safe and protected at all times if you choose that. So make that choice. We're all empowered. We're all here for this reason today. So thank you guys for hanging out. That was my big, closing statement there. And the share it out of last week, the winner is Marla Torres. You won a reading with me, so congratulations. And I'll be contacting you soon to get that set up. and share it out this week. Whoever shares out the most is going to win with Teresa. Next week we'll announce it. So thank you guys so much for hanging out today, and we love you. And thank you, June, for showing up and doing what you do. We appreciate you so much.
Thank you for having me.
The world is
Absolutely.
definitely a better place with you in it. Thank you so much. And have a good day, everyone. See you next week.
You too. Bye.
Bye.
Namaste.